to Second Season Health with the BSS crew. We are 3 practitioners having real conversations about health, family, and life after 40. This isn't about chasing youth, fixing bodies, or managing symptoms in isolation. It's about understanding the season that you're in, listening to your body, communicating and exploring what it really means to thrive physically, emotionally, and relationshiply in this second season of life. Hi, my name is Sarah Roden.
My name is Susan Corsaris.
And I'm Brittany Garland.
And we are the BSS crew.
What are we going to talk about today, BSS crew? We're going to talk about how to support the body, its ability to detox at whatever level you're at. What does that mean for our health?
Yeah, I think it's really a great subject. The reason I think that is because everybody is going out and they're thinking, oh, I'm going to fix everything. I'm going to go and do a detox. So they go out and they buy all those products, and then quite often people feel worse. And why do they feel worse?
Yes, I do find that. We found that a lot with our clients, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
We would start on a detox and their body was not ready for it. So part of that is because the liver health wasn't quite up to snuff and it's already overburdened. And so when we're starting to enhance or catalyze that detoxification, it's just more stimulation, more burden on a liver that's already overburdened. Could be one issue. And another big issue that I've noticed with many clients is that the elimination pathways aren't fully opened yet. So that's a huge reason why detoxes can fail, and you can often feel way worse when you're trying to detox if you don't do it the right way. We want you pooping every day. We want you drinking plenty of water, keep those pathways open even on a cellular level. That can often help really improve the symptoms of detoxification.
I think the biggest thing as well, like you say, is that the liver can be totally overburdened with what we're dealing with, right? So just generally in life, and it's not just about what we might be consuming, it's coming from every avenue, from our water, from our emotions, and not sleeping. So all of these things, or even like plastics and fragrances that we might be using, all of these external toxins as well as like internal toxins. And it's important for people to just kind of like understand that making sure those pathways are open before you do a detox is one of the key things here, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we want to jump in and we want to do all the things right away without really realizing what the tail end effect is going to be. So you're right. It's almost like we have to reverse engineer it to say, all right, let's do the boring things first. If you've got a lot of mental issues, maybe journaling, maybe some meditation, maybe let's start handling that, because when we're in a stress state, nothing is going to really work correctly.
Yeah.
And you really can't detox if you're still in that fight or flight.
I think as well, one of the biggest mistakes that people make is going too fast too soon. So I would say that's probably the biggest mistake that you see. Everybody's like, oh, at the beginning of the year or something, okay, I need to do a detox, right? And then they go out and they get their supplements. Some of those supplements can be high dose supplements. They can be aggressive protocols. And then maybe people are doing fasting, they're doing detox, and then they're doing exercise, and they're doing all of that at once, and the body is like, holy night. Right? It's like, I need to escape from the detox, right? The body is saying, I'm not feeling safe enough, and it's like literally pushing back and then giving us all kinds of symptoms. Is like, oh my gosh, why do I feel so awful? And it really isn't just about pulling out toxins. It's really about making sure that our body can actually handle what's already there before we start like kind of pulling out more toxins. Does that make sense? Because again, like you said there, making sure that we do some of the basics is a bit like, we use the analogy of the house. We're going to build a house. Okay, so we got all the bricks, we got the roof. But if you don't start with some of that foundational piece, your house is going to fall down. So it's really important we remember to do some of that, the simple foundation pieces, which quite often people overlook really fast. They're like, no, am I drinking my water? Like, am I doing some simple breathing and simple walking or getting good sleep? Because if those aren't already supported, we're going to have all kinds of problems. And then also thinking, well, if you keep doing that detox and the body's not ready for it, what implications does that have on the body going forwards?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think of it as like a conveyor belt. When that conveyor belt is shut off, you're just dumping a bunch of garbage onto it. It's not going to go anywhere. You have to get that conveyor belt repaired, well oiled, and up to 100% working order first before you start loading it with a bunch of junk to get rid of.
Yeah.
Brittany, what are your experiences with detoxification and clients having issues, maybe detoxing too early or?
An important factor, and you may have already mentioned this, is sweating. I think people frown on sweating. So many people don't want to sweat. They think sweating is bad. They think when they're sweating a lot, it's bad. And I think I'm leading people at the gym and they don't want to be sweating. They're like, oh no, I'm sweating too much. I'm like, no, you need to sweat. They're like, oh, I need deodorant, the whole body deodorant. I'm like, no, you don't need that. You don't need to plug all your pores with some God knows what, you know?
Yeah, let's talk about that because that's kind of an interesting thing now. We're seeing all these products on the market, right? No longer is it just the armpits that we're kind of like,
Every
putting sweat
crevice.
on. It's like, yeah, like nobody ever realized that they needed deodorant in their.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like,
This
who
is
ever said
really,
that?
isn't that something where it's like a catch-22? So many fragrances and things that they're absorbing in their bodies that they're emitting these awful smells now because their body's trying to get rid of this garbage. Like, if your body's getting the right nutrients, your sweat is sweat. I mean, obviously, there is a body odor component, but it can be easily neutralized. As practitioners, we appreciate the difference between foul odors and regular body odor. The body does its thing and it's more of a neutral odor, I think. Whereas if you're eating lots of garlic or things like that, and it smells like garlic coming out of your pores. I think a lot of it is the same way when you're putting on these fragrances or you're eating a lot of junk. Sometimes that can cause that really terrible body odor that a lot of people are really fighting hard to get rid of. I know that if you take things like parsley, what is the other, maybe cilantro, and I think spirulina, there's actually something out on the market that is in pill form, and all it is those types of things with some bentonite clay. And it helps neutralize body odors. If we just have these things and eat them, our bodies react really well. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I think as well, just being in a gym environment, how you can also smell that sourness off of some people. And it's almost
Hmm.
like you will then perhaps recognize that there's some kind of imbalance in their body when they're smelling like that. When people are consuming a lot of processed foods, their gut microbiome is totally off. They're breathing heavy and they're sweating heavy. And if you've never smelt it, you might not know what I'm talking about. But it's almost like that rancid milk kind of smell
Hmm.
that some people
Yeah.
can have, and that
Hmm.
it comes out. And the body is an amazing thing, isn't it? It's like, oh yeah, we got to get this out. We got to get this out. And it's coming out through the mouth. It's coming out through the skin. It's
Yep.
coming out through whatever.
Every orifice.
Do a sit up,
Oh my
trumpety
God.
trump, trumpety trump.
Yeah.
Get it out.
Let it out. Better out than in. Better out than in.
Yes.
It's always funny when you got those people that are doing sit-ups and then they're farting at the same time. But
But that is really fascinating. I mean, we know that when there's an overabundance of bad bacteria in the colon, that can cause excess flatulence, and bad bacteria back up through the gut and the small bowel and into the stomach. That halitosis can be very indicative of those things. The hopeful thing here is that it's something that can be improved. It's dysfunction that to a point we restore the functionality to that. And I know that, it was a surprise to me to learn about the need for magnesium with regards to body odors. If we're getting enough magnesium, that can sometimes help improve body odor as well. And I remember telling a friend of the family that he was complaining to me about, oh, my son's feet stink so bad. And I was like, he needs magnesium. And he's like, well, he doesn't do pills. And I said, put it on topically on his feet. It's a great way to get it into his body. And, you know, You can lead them to water, but
Yeah, that's a different story for another day, I feel, right?
yeah.
Talking about family and
Oh, yeah.
friends and giving them advice, and sometimes that's not always going to go down well. You can tell them, and then they'll go off. This happens to me with my kids. They'll go off and they'll come back, and then they'll say, "Oh, I've heard this on TikTok," and I'm like, "Have I not been telling you this for years?"
Yeah, I'm banging my head on the table. Like, I've only told you this 16 times, but okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but a complete stranger who I don't know
Yeah.
has told me this, and I'm going to believe them over believing you. So it's
Yes.
like, okay.
Yes. That's the way. I guess that's just how everyone's built. It's not us. What are some of your top 3 detox tips for people that are starting a detox?
Well, one of the ones is a lot of people right now, they're listening to a lot of these gurus online, right? So one of the patterns that I'm seeing is oregano oil, right? Or you say it different to me, but
I love oregano. I'm gonna say it like that.
oh,
We say
oregano.
oregano, but I love oregano.
I'm glad that you could interpret for me. And people are all about kill, 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 right? And so, again, it's real important before we start killing that we have got those pathways open. Just even simple strategies. One of my favorites is always using the castor oil packs, like on the liver, just putting those on just to support detoxification. As Brittany said, sweating, going into saunas, or literally working out and actually allowing the body to naturally sweat. But obviously, as well, adding in hydration and making sure we're not just drinking water, but the water has got minerals, like you said about the magnesium, all these minerals that we can quite often overlook. And people are all of a sudden like, oh, yeah, I'm going to start drinking all my water. And then they're like peeing and peeing and peeing. And then they're wondering why they feel worse because all of their minerals are literally being washed out of their body as well. So
Yeah.
there's so many simple things that can come in first before you start doing any of the kill or the actual physical detox strategies.
Yeah, absolutely. I would have to agree. I think hydrating is something most people are not doing. And even if you're pushing water, as you say, sometimes you're just pushing plain water and that's just washing everything out. So we have to remember those electrolytes, get our salt in and make sure we're getting all of that good stuff there. And that we're pooping every day. Again, with family, driving me crazy. I've got family members who are just sure that I've always been this way since a child. And I'm like, you've been constipated since a child. That's not the way your body was made to function. You'd feel so much better if you were pooping every day. And we've seen it over and over with clients that have not been able to poop and suddenly they're pooping every day. And they're like, wow, this is amazing. I didn't know I had it in me. And I'm like, you do.
Yeah, it's been stuck
So
there for years and now it's coming out, right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I think a lot of it might have to do with better intake in water, those electrolytes, more liver support, whatever it takes for us to be able to start to poop every day, I think is my number one.
One of the other ones is movement because so many of us are sedentary and
Yes.
that actual physical movement is so important for making the bowels, everything kind of like contract and move. I just had a conversation today and they're like, yeah, if I have my coffee, it makes me go pooping, right? Especially in the morning. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, because that caffeine, as much as anything, is creating a stimulatory effect and causing that contraction and retraction, which is then helping your body to actually have a good bowel movement.
Yeah, I think that's really, really important. People can get used to their caffeine intake too and come to depend on that, but I think that movement is key. You're absolutely right. We don't often put that together, but physically moving the body, contracting and expanding, kneeling down and coming back up, that's going to force your insides to move. And so
Yeah.
sometimes just that movement or a walk can get things going to where you can now start to poop every day.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's so many benefits for getting up in the morning and just going for a small walk. It doesn't have to be like a big hike, but just
Mhm.
kind of like getting up, going outside, seeing the sunshine,
Yes.
moving that body, and then, the body is ready, especially if you live or you're in a job. And how many of us are either starting our days first thing, we get up, we might have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, if you're like me. And
On
then
the yeah.
we sit down at our computer, or we get in our car and we drive to an office, and then we're at our desk. Now, not
Hmm.
everybody has that, right? But there's an awful lot of people who that is their day-to-day life, and they're very
Yeah.
sedentary. So no
Yeah.
wonder a lot of people are having trouble actually having a good bowel movement. And this could be stuff that even some of our kids now are not as active. And
Yeah.
also talking, as we're talking poop, as I love talking about poop, but also that withholding, right? Because quite often we don't necessarily want to go and have a poop in local toilet, right? So
Right. Right.
you might feel uncomfortable going into a group scene there. So you're like holding, and a body trains itself to withhold that, and then we
Yep.
reabsorb those toxins again. Then it becomes harder to pass, and it becomes like this vicious cycle where we're
Right.
re-intoxifying ourselves over and over. Even our schedules, we're not allowed to kind of ease into the day and spend some time and then leisurely go to the bathroom, sit there, enjoy a nice bowel movement. No,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, we got to be out of here. Right, go, 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 go do pee. And
Yeah.
it's like, there's
Yeah.
no time to poop. We got to hold on to that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Talk about stress. Now you're putting on physiological stress on top of your emotional stress. And no wonder people are so upset. It is very real. For me, growing up, that was always performance anxiety where I couldn't go in a public loo ever unless I was traveling, and by day 2 I have to go somewhere. So it really was like a mental block. Just being around more people that would do that, and they were not embarrassed in the least. And I remember working at a doctor's office, and our coworkers would come in and use the patient bathroom, and it would stink up the entire joint. I remember this girl walked out, and I was like, wow, she's got some major confidence here. And she's like, when you gotta go, you gotta go. And I was like, truer words were never spoken. I thought that's so true. And we don't understand the importance of it. This is literally getting rid of the toxins and the crap that your body is carrying around. You need to get rid of it.
And crap being the great word there that you used. But, again, like you say, it is kind of hard when you're in those environments. This is the scenario that happens to me. In my building here, there is one toilet. Okay. And so somebody will have gone in there and they will have created the biggest smell, the biggest mess ever. And then I'll go in there and I'm like nearly dying here thinking, this person needs my help. This person needs my help.
Someone light a match.
Of course, I'll be coming out and then somebody will be going in. And
Oh,
then
so yeah, it's like,
they're
this isn't
thinking,
me.
oh my God, that girl, she looks so cute, but she is rotten to the core. I always have to come out and say that smell was not me, just so you know.
Just FYI. Brittany, we missed you. We're talking about poop. So, yeah, we're talking about our favorite tips for proper detoxification. We were talking about what you were saying with sweating. Sarah was saying movement often helps. I was saying that they need to be pooping every day. And all of this really feeds into each other for sure. Do you have any other pearls of wisdom you want to share?
I think there's so many little tools that we can do, right? Anything that helps stimulate like the lymphatic system, looking down at my vibration plate or the little rebounder trampoline, or even just dry brushing for people who are uncomfortable with those things. The dry brush is a $5 tool opposed to the $200, $300 vibration plate. Any little thing that you can do to kind of get things moving. Castor oil on the skin can be huge. Castor oil packs across the belly can be super helpful, or even the liver if you're really working on that detox, but not for a long period of time. You want to start small with those. I think people don't realize the impact because you don't really feel it when you're using the castor oil pack, but they're pretty powerful.
Yeah. I've woken up before with the pack like hot. I'm like, wow, that generated a lot of energy. We have some awesome tools we can use. It just got super dark outside here. It started out at 70 degrees and it's now 50. And all of the sun just went away.
Actually, today it's not too bad, but I think it's going to possibly snow again next week. So
Oh boy.
who knows? We bring the different colors. We bring the different. We bring the different weather. We bring the different accents. So all of these are great for us hanging out here, right, together.
We hope you have enjoyed this episode of Second Season Health. If today's conversation resonated, let it land. You don't need to fix or change anything right now. This season is about listening, understanding, and honoring where you are. We're glad you're here, and we'll see you next time with another honest conversation from the BSS crew. If you found this helpful, follow or subscribe so these conversations can meet you in this season.